You know, a few weeks ago, I talked about cognitive diminishment. It was a word that popped up, and it was in terms of AI. And I found that very, very interesting. And very, very important because most people use AI, and many people don't think about how it affects us. And I think it's about time whether we talk about how that actually affects us, because we have never been in this place as humanity, and things are happening fast, very fast. So MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, I believe it is, but most people have heard of MIT. They had a 4-month study on 50 people where they had them in 3 categories where they tested for what happens in terms of use of AI. So they split these people into 3 groups. The first group was allowed to use LLMs or AI. The second group was allowed to use Google and search engines. And the third group was only allowed to use their brains. What's interesting is that the first group, the LLM group, the AI group, couldn't remember 83% of these people couldn't remember what they have written, while search engines and those of the brain could, which is an interesting freaking statistic, like if you think about that. Because when you use AI, you are bound to forget things. I see this all the time in my own work. I forget things. I might have an aha moment, a eureka moment, but I forget what that was. 2 days later, it was just a waste of time, basically, because it's just lost in the many, many chats that happens in ChatGPT. Basically, it's like if you don't use your brain, you're going to lose your brain. And in the cases where people use GPT and AI for everything, they forget how to think. The best way of creating or thinking at all is to think and just write and using your brain to do the things and go through the loops and just try to develop. You know, if you go into the shower, if you drive your car, that too, if you're driving an auto-driven car, you don't really use the same things that you did before. Well, normally, you could go into the car, you go into the whole navigation of the car, you drive around, you wait for the stop signs, you see for the pedestrians and all that stuff. While you're doing that, because this is almost on autopilot, people have said that, oh, just zoned out. That was dangerous. I don't think it was. I think that your body is subconsciously just driving this car while you are thinking of things that you want to think about. So your brain is working. You know, you're not crashing, you're following the rules, you're following the traffic, whatever. You just snap out of whatever zone you were in. And if you're in the shower, it's the same thing. If you're going into the same program of you just lathering yourself with soap and you're going through the same motions and stuff, your brain does things. It's problem solving. But if you're going into ChatGPT for everything and just prompt and prompt and prompt and prompt, you're not using your brain. And if you don't do that for a long enough time, you're going to go into cognitive debt or cognitive diminishment. You're going to lose your brain. You're going to be less of a thinker. And that scares the shit out of me because we are a human race and we're going into a future that we don't really know what is. I think is dangerous. I think that we have to just realize that we are human beings and that we have to go back to natural. This is why I've been focusing on the bonfire. This is why I've been focusing on mental health. And now it's like before, I said this before, like when you are not thinking critically, when you're not asking critical questions, when you're just following whatever it is blindly. And then it goes into not just asking critical questions and thinking critically, but to think, period. We have to be serious about this. This is why I try to go more and more into nature, more and more away of technology, and just trying to figure out a new way of doing this and seeing if there is a new way of doing this to just disconnect from all these modern things, these modern quick fixes and the shortcuts and all those convenience things, because I think it has a massive effect on who you are, who we are as humans. It's not to be a downer. It's not to be a doom and gloom. It's just fucking human evolution. It's biology. It's seen now from this test in MIT. We see that cognitive diminishment is a real thing. And if we are going to stay human, this is also not one of those, the robots are going to take over. No, this is one of those things that you are not going to be you in 10 years if you continue to just outsource your thinking. Think about this. If the power went out, if we just continued the normal course of action every single day for 5 years, 2 years, or tomorrow, and the power goes out, what do you think would happen? Comment below.